That's our next item on today's lineup of program, Sunrise. The Electoral Act Amendment Bill has been on the table of Mr. President for a bit now. The National Assembly on the 9th of November passed the much-anticipated Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021 after both the Senate and the House of Representatives deliberated extensively on the report of the Conference Committee on the bill. Now, the Senate passed the harmonized version of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, and the passage followed the consideration of the report of the Committee of the Senate and the House of Representatives on that bill. It's been at the table of Mr. President for a while now, and the questions people are asking is, the Electoral Act Amendment Bill to be a law or not to be a law? Two gentlemen we'll begin this conversation with this morning. Chukwuma Izala is a legal practitioner. He joins us here in the studio. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
As well as Ezekiel Yaetok, founder Nigeria First. Thank you for joining us today. Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Okay, but let me begin with you, Mr. Izala. First of all, are you concerned? Are you as concerned as several people are that this bill may not see the light of day as a law? They reference, of course, you are aware, the fact that the president had refused to sign an Electoral Act Amendment bill before.
Yes, it's a very unfortunate position. In 2019, the president said, oh, no, I will not sign until after my election. Before then, it was why it's more surprising. Mr. President had contested election 3 times, lost, and was not happy with the system. And he took the intervention of President Jonathan to right the wrongs in the electoral laws and in the operators of INEC for there to be a credible election. And we were thinking that Mr. President, being a beneficiary of such, would really want to do something. We want to improve on what President Jonathan did. And one is surprised that Mr. President or that people that are handling the affairs do not want to look at that area. And what do you have? If you recall, from 1999, we were having issues, we were learning, even from 1989 to 1990, we were learning how to transit into democracy. We continued up to 1999. 2003 was a very bad system. 2007 was very bad, the worst election Nigeria ever had. And we are now going into 2023. And sometimes it will be unfair to say that the way generals are handling their affairs may not be the best, because President Obasanjo did the same thing. And President Buhari is also doing the same thing. So where is it leaving us to? But I think President Buhari's friends should come in to assist the system. They should inform him that this is not issue of military also trying to truncate democracy. I'm sorry I'm bringing it at that level, but the coincidences are too similar for us not to ignore,
Well, there are many things to unpack in this conversation. Let me check if Mr. Yaetok is on the same page with you on this. Mr. Yaetok.
I think my page is even more serious and deeper than his. And it pains me that people that should be at the twilight of their stay on earth, who should be thinking in terms of what to do to right the wrongs they would have done in the past, people who have been in the position of power that they are today, so they are not like getting to the office for the first time, people who are old enough to see and feel the pulse of the nation and know what people are going through. People who should understand what governance is, whether it is military or civilian. It's about governance. Mr. President, who should know this more than any other person, he's been a military head of state, Number one. Number two, like my brother Chikuba said, he's contested election on 3 occasions. He's felt the pains. He's seen the betrayals. He knows the agony of injustice. He should come in, and 6 years after, we are still asking, will he or will he not? He makes me to really, really regret, as it were, the loss of a man like our former president, Yaradua. A man who comes in, he came in for the first time, but he says, I'm not satisfied with the process that brought me to office. They wanted to give him a national honor. He said, you cannot give me the national honor at this point in time. I need to be able to do some things, at the end of which you judge me and then see if I'm good enough or not, and honor me rightly or wrongly. When we have this sort of antecedent, and then we have President Buhari, and today, 6 years after, we are still debating. As we advance in this discourse, I think I'll be able, by the grace of God, to bring up a few things that the nation should know. Because all these things that we are doing, I think the time has come when enough has to be enough.
Well, the issues being raised here, Mr. Nyeto, concern the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which is the platform on which politicians ride to get into office, to be able to do things, effect the kind of change that Nigerians are expecting. So whatever the information is, how does it help our cause of ensuring that this bill is signed into law? First of all, what are your own concerns? There are those politicians, maybe in office or not in office, who have issues with certain segments of the bill before Mr. President that will only become a law at just one signature. So in terms of the concerns that have been expressed, do you have any concerns about certain segments of the law? The instance that is present, of course, prevalent, of course, is the part of the direct primary, where both politicians, both in power and on the other side and in opposition, are saying it's supposed to be at the behest of the political party, not something that should be a matter of law.
Good. Let me give a little context that will help people to understand, because when somebody says something, you need to know if the person is informed or not. So, number one, I've been a very good party man. I was in the PDP. I rose to the position of being the Ward and Local Government Congress Committee chairman of the PDP to one of the states. If you're into party politics, you'll understand that that's one of the most sensitive assignments you could have. Being one of the 36 or 37 people that set up the Ward local government, without which you cannot go to the state, you cannot go to the national. I've been that good a party man. Number two, I have also been into party administration. I was a pioneer national chairman of Young Democratic Party. Number three, I have contested elections on 2 occasions for the governorship of my state. So as a party man or a party administrator or a player in the electoral process, I believe I know what I'm talking about experientially. With that context, let me come to electoral bill. The greatest problem that we have in our politics with respect to election is collation of results. We've not been having collation of results. We've been having allocation of results. So no matter what you do, you just lose interest, because you know that when they get into the collation hall, they're going to allocate the marks. So everything that we did at the polling units were just mere formalities. Then INEC came up with this issue of electronic transfer of results from the polling unit. And instantly, Nigerians said, good. You can see the spirit, the upbeat, and everything. The National Assembly said, no, we will not. Nigerians said, yes, you will. National Assembly said, no, we will not. Nigerians said, yes, you will. And when they saw the resolve in the minds and the eyes of Nigerians, they went to Plan B. In the Plan B, all of a sudden, they realized that, oh, there should be only direct primaries. They just wanted to inject something that they know will not fly. I've been national chairman of a party, like I said. And the issue of direct primaries, you need to tell me who is going to bear the cost. It's a good thing, extremely good. That's why party says we can have direct or we can have indirect, depending on the situation we find ourselves, depending on the peculiar circumstances. And do we really understand what direct primaries mean? Do we know who sets up the different electoral colleges that will supervise or superintend over the direct primaries? Do we understand these things? Do we know that the parties are in the pocket of, it's like local government election. We know that governments sit down, they have election, and they write the results. So this joy that we are having is not because the National Assembly, in my opinion, wanted to have a credible process. No, don't be deceived. They wanted to inject something that will make them achieve what they wanted to achieve ab initio, which is that there will be no transmission of elections from the polling units. That's the game. That's the game. Nothing else. Any other thing we are doing is just a means to an end. Number two, when this clause was injected, the president has a liaison person between the National Assembly and the presidency. He heard the debate. He has a National Assembly that says, tell me to jump and I ask you how high. So Mr. President could very easily have told them, no, this is not okay, don't do it. He kept quiet. It's a game. And what I want Nigerians to know that this game, just like in the first, we must rise up peacefully in an organized manner and let them know that government is not their property. Okay. Government is our property. We send them to oversee a process for us. Right. So what I'm saying is that that bill is going to be signed. It's going to become an act. Okay. Whatever it takes. So all this game that they are playing is not going to go far. That's my take for now
or not to
on
be
this.
Part in a bit of the INEC talk because anyway, so he said as far as he is concerned, it's the election, the collation of results that is the big issue. But collation of results comes after elections have been after votes have been cast. The direct primaries element, for instance, is an element that comes in before the election itself. And there are those who also say, perhaps that's where we should actually begin the whole process from. The process of selection of those to go into office. Because if we miss it at the level of the people to vie for office, the people only have the option of between the devil and the deep blue sea, so to speak.
Yes, party primaries is as important as the main elections, especially in this climate where you have sometimes 2 or 3 major political parties in every area. So the support of party or what you do with the parties are also of utmost importance. However, going back to the problem we have now, or the crossroad we have now, where in the wisdom of the National Assembly, they have injected it into a bill to say that parties must conduct direct primaries. Now, they have thrown a carrot for us to start debating whether there should be direct primaries or not direct primaries. And my brother has stated that it was just a ploy to ensure that we don't have credible elections or that we don't have transmission of elections so that people will start battling on that one. Now, if we look at the merits of direct primaries, very wonderful idea. Unfortunately, the Honorable Attorney General, and that is to say that they have already said from day one, they knew they didn't want to. The Honorable Attorney General of the Federation has written to the presidency to say, don't sign because of direct primaries. And what does it mean? You were part of it. The executive was part of the current bill that came out, just like my brother said. There is no way the executive did not know what they were going to put. And remember that it is an APC-controlled National Assembly. And National Assembly has always stated that whatever the president wants, as long as it is good, they are going to get it as a bill. So what happened? Is it that the president did not make any input? Or is it that the followers of the president did not know that the Attorney General and the president will not want direct primaries? You see, it's a very big confusion at this stage. Direct primaries has its own little problems, but it has other benefits. If you look at what we had in 1990, option A4 was more of direct. All the political parties must ensure that there is direct primaries to select their party flag bearers, and it worked very well. This issue of direct primaries is just a modification of that option A4, which people really wanted. People were looking at the finances. What is the finance? What is important? The money they steal in Nigeria is more than what you're going to use to get to the direct primaries.
You have to verify or validate who steals this money. You're a lawyer. Yeah. So you know the implication of saying something that you cannot verify.
No, I have not mentioned anybody's name.
You said there is stealing.
I said people steal a lot of Nigerian money, and it is true.
How do you know?
No, how I know is that, yeah, very good. How I know is that I know that many of them come out as ex-governors and they have fleets of airlines.
But they have
private jets.
There's no proof. No one can prove that, okay, this is exactly what happened. You are a lawyer,
My brother in the United States, as well as in Nigeria, if I am doing business today, and maybe my average income from that business is 50,000 naira in a month, and the next thing I have a private jet, and you're asking securities to prove that I stole money. It's me that should prove how did I buy private jets.
So who is asking the governor's question?
That's the problem. We still have that corruption. So now, since the security agencies have failed in asking these governors that overnight, these senators that have overnight become very rich, since they cannot do that work, let them allow the electorate to, because they will come back with the same loot to come back to rule. Allow the electorates to do that. The electorates can do that since you cannot. And if the electorates can do that, it is by way of allowing the current bill as it is, so as to give powers to the people to chase away any governor, to chase away any minister, to chase away any president that fails to function.
Now, one of the things that the president promised is that he is going to bequeath a legacy before he leaves office. And there are very many people, I don't know if you agree, who say that this instrument, this Electoral Act Amendment Bill before the president, has all the elements of making it a legacy instrument of the president for Nigerians. Do you agree it's very strong enough a legacy?
Oh, it's a very strong legacy. You see, we've been improving in the electoral laws. Now, take for instance, in 2018, we had one that came, and President Buhari said he was not going to sign. That one also has electronic transmission. Now we have beavers, and we have people that have modeled us something to get to where we are. Look at Anambra election. People wanted somebody to be governor, and he won because of the beavers and some other modifications. Now this time, it is to validate, to ensure we have an improved version of electioneering and of voting. This is where we are in the Electoral Act, in the Electoral Bill before the president. And if somebody is using direct primaries to truncate that, it will be an unfortunate thing, because what it will be is that, because the sophistication continues to increase. In 2007, we said we had the worst election. In 2023, it may be a very terrible one. It's likely going to be a very terrible one. And what does it translate? There may not actually be 2023 if we continue in the trajectory we are going into. Why will I say there will not be 2023? In 2007, Nigerians were trying to learn politicians. By now, you already know that most parts of Nigeria are now engulfed in crisis. What is the remote cause of this crisis? The remote cause of this crisis is simply because there is no governance. And why is there no governance? Because government is not accountable. And why is there no accountability? Because people do not have voice or vote in choosing who is going to be their elected representatives. And that is what the Electoral Act is seeking to enthrone.
Okay. Well, Mr. Nyaitok, you said that there are some injections which are like, what do we call it now? Secret agenda, if I can use that term, of some politicians to ensure that they put in certain things that they want in the system. So have you been able to identify some of these things?
Yeah, it's very, very easy to identify. Politics, you call it a game of interest. And there's what you look at and call, self-preservation. How did you get into office? What sort of laws will disenfranchise you? What sort of laws will be good for you? The law that you have you made it for yourself or for the generality of the people? Now, like I said, the law of self-preservation means that I will not make a law that will rope me. A good number, this is, you were asking my brother to prove that the people stole. That's a very interesting question, and I'm happy with the answer he gave you. I got into office owning one house. Everybody knows my salaries. Next 4 years down the line, I have a private jet. And you're asking, did you steal? No, he didn't steal. His prayer, miracle brought it down. Anyway, that said, coming to the issues we're discussing, the first thing you'd realize is that with free, fair, credible elections, with all due sense of responsibility, over 80, if I'm being extremely conservative, if not 90% of the people in National Assembly will not return to the House. And how do you expect them to, after amassing enough wealth and being ready for the game of buying the players, the game of, look, whatever is done, the electoral officers will just sit down and then cook up the results and they announce it, go to court if you want. After they've prepared that very well, you're not asking them, no, go to what you call direct transmission of results from the polling booth, which is not their turf, is not their strong area. They're not going to do it. They will not do it, except the people say you've got to do it. Let me tell you something about what we celebrate so much about direct primaries, indirect primaries. Like I said, I've been a player in this industry at all levels. And the question is, what is the concern? I'll give you just 1-2 illustrations that will help you understand my mindset. There was a man called Dr. Mimiko, and he was a minister. And there was a sitting governor, PDP governor, under PDP government at the center. And this man said, I want to contest against the sitting governor. And it sounded like suicide. How? He took a non-existent party, Labour Party at that time, non-existent. Within 4 months, he ran a campaign where he was able to defeat the incumbent by the final judgment by a margin of over 60%. What's the prognosis of what I've just said? We have 18 political parties. Why do we always think that you must get a ticket in one of the two? Because they are the two that have capacity to manipulate results, to strangulate the will of the people, not because they have that capacity to do what the others can do. Now, if you are disenfranchised in party A and there are 18 political parties, and you know that you are popular with the people, you know that if you take up an election, you will win. What do? You leave the party and go and take another party and run the election. Once you do that and they do direct transmission of results, you are going to win that election. So direct transmission of results has to be stopped. So all this celebrating of, the process of choosing, there are 18 political parties. When I left and joined ADC, for instance, people were like, oh, how are you? I said, I'm loved by the people. Just wait. When the people speak at the polls, whatever they say is fine by me. I was confident because of this electronic transmission of results from the polling unit. Because I don't have that capacity to go into that, where they are collating results to be able to, negotiate and bargain. I don't have that capacity. But it's just like President Buhari, who came and said, look, I have 10 million votes waiting for me.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that we're going to get Mr. Nyatok back. I guess that's electronic transmission. Well, electronically transmitting his voice and face. That's why we're having that issue. Well, you heard all that he's saying, and people are actually as concerned about the electronic transmission of these results. And it really is a concern. There is no doubt about it. But then there are those who are also demonstrating concern that, look, talking about this electronic transmission of results is a good thing. But then there are still those other, little elements in the law that says there still have to be some filling of forms that still have to go to the center before, to validate the transmission.
Yes, there has to be a paper trail. It cannot be all electronic. In any election, there's usually paper trail. In case there is an allegation, or in case there is a failure of any particular area or any particular system, you revert to that one. It's very important. And that will also bring us into who are going to be involved. Who are the stakeholders? Who are INEC officials that are going to carry out this duty? Because no matter how best you have the laws, if you don't have good operators of the laws, for instance, if you don't have the good ones, they can truncate the electronic transmission of results. And that is why we think that the list that the president sent to the National Assembly is not a good one. It's not the type that can, even when he signs the Electoral Act, can operate that Electoral Act with all sincerity.
Why do you say so?
Yes, why I say so is
it a question of timing or choice of
no,
persons?
the choice of persons. Now, election is next year. It's February 2023. I mean, everything about election is next year. And some of us thought that the president, take for instance the Anambra election, you have somebody like Professor Okechukwu Ibano, who conducted that election despite all the challenges. He's dropped. He can't continue. Look at Muazu. He's dropped. He can't continue. And these are people with the experience. And when you ask people around the INEC, you see that these are people that ought to continue. The election is here, and you're bringing new people. We also have a lot of them in the states, a lot of recent electoral commissioners who may go, and many of them did wonderfully well. Look at the one in Akwa Ibom State. We've been talking about election rigging, and nobody has ever been prosecuted. But in Akwa Ibom State, a professor was successfully prosecuted and jailed, and another one is about to be prosecuted and jailed. Where have we seen it in Nigeria? And that one is not being elected or is not being nominated to go into to go in as a national commissioner. Where are the people you are going to? You're bringing fresh people, some of them nominated by politicians. So what are you aiming at? You are now getting into a system where people will not accept the election. And why it pains me so much is that President Goodluck Jonathan nominated people like Professor Jega. Jega brought people like Professor Iban, all of them to advise. And some of these people were the people that ensured we have a relatively good election that brought Buhari. Why would President Buhari not improve on what? Why would he not look around within the system and see those that are tested and bring them up?
But don't forget, I'm sure you know, the president is just one person.
Yes.
And there are 200 million people, almost 500 lawmakers.
Yes.
He can only see as much as a person. So, as you said, he will need people like you, members of his party to advise, if I can use that term, to prop up people for him. You would remember how the former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, received people such as the vice president without never knowing them as members of his cabinet. So someone has to recommend someone to someone. So I'm just wondering, how you would what's the process, for instance, of bringing people into such a system as INEC? Are you by any chance calling for an amendment to the INEC Act as well?
No. There is already a bill, and which we said it's okay for now. But I mean, we can still continue. Laws can be changed anytime. Some sections of the laws can be amended.
I'm asking that just to find out if the president in any way broke any law by nominating those people.
No. He didn't break any law. But what is important this time around, some of us are saying that president has good intentions for Nigeria. And if you have good intentions for Nigeria, some people will say, what is the proof of the good intention? Like you just asked, what is the proof of stealing? What is the proof of good intentions for Nigeria? Part of the proof of good intentions for Nigeria is to look at who are you appointing. If you say, will he know everybody? He will not know everybody, but he can as well ask, when he's dropping Professor Ibano, he will ask, why are we dropping this person? Is it that he didn't do well, or is it because he didn't work for the party? Do you understand? The commission has been working. When Muaz was being dropped, you will ask, why am I dropping? I mean, they are supposed to be present. Mr. President has gone for the second tenure. These people are supposed to go for their second tenure. So why are you not nominating them this time around? And everybody knows, every politician knows that these people are credible. We have some of them that are in the states. We know some of them that are very credible. The facts speak for themselves. The president will first of all ask, because he has good intention, I believe. I have good intention for Nigeria, so I believe that you have good intentions for Nigeria. I believe that Mr. President has good intentions for Nigeria. And if all of us, those people that are advising him, are we saying that they don't have good intentions for Nigeria? Don't they like the corporate existence of Nigeria? The security issues are all there because of misgovernance. So I think they are all listening. Let them take back, let them advise Mr. President once more. Take back that list. Include those people that they ought to include. Let them restore credibility to the electoral system.
Okay.
Let them improve on what Jonathan did. This is just a simple thing Nigerians are asking.
Okay, Mr. Yaitok, do you agree with him? He's talking about the people who will run the process, who will act, who will, how do we use the word now, execute the law that is going to be passed, especially talking about the INEC Electoral National Commissioners.
You see, in deciding the sort of people you should bring into INEC, the very first thing you should realize is that you need to profile the jobs that they are supposed to do. And we have had electoral processes in a way that we look so much at individuals and we don't look at the processes and the systems. Today in Nigeria, if you have direct transmission of results, nobody cares who the collation officers are. Nobody even wants to know. Nobody cares whether they're even there, whether they're even needed at all. I don't know. Okay? So, number two, what are the functions of these people? We keep talking about integrity of the people. A lot of times, my mindset is a little bit different. Bring in ICT. Bring in technology. Allow people to go to the polling unit. Make it such that the process of choosing your candidate, your preferred candidate, on the ballot is easy. You click it. That click, which is transparent, the integrity of that process is known by everybody. Everybody has confidence in it. It goes straight to INEC office. So whoever is in the intermediary knows that he cannot play any silly game. And as a result, you don't even want to take a chance. You say for whatever it's worth, if you do this, it's either you are incompetent or you are criminal. And this is the results that will come out. When you do that, nobody, look, in America, who is the head of the electoral system? Nobody knows. Nobody cares to know. Nigerians don't care who you are. All they want is somebody that means well. Somebody who comes and knows that my responsibility is to set up systems, strategies, and processes that will give this country free, fair, credible elections. That's all we want. And they come in, and all they are looking is, looking at the different processes and then coming up with, where there is a weakness, you strengthen it. Where there is a certain outdated, information, you update it. This is what we want to know. But what we have is people who think more of their parties, people who think more of what they can gain for themselves, and not to see the responsibility of state. And let me, at this point, push a little bit something that you advanced before the enemies of progress cut me off. Legacy for Mr. President. I want us to understand this country, how it works. There was a man called General Abdul Salam. Nobody cares what he did or didn't do in office. That he handed over on time. Nigerians hail him anywhere he goes. One action, he handed over on time. There's a man called President Jonathan. We talk about 16 years of the wastages of PDP and everything. Anywhere that President Jonathan goes today, to the extent that even APC is lobbying him to come back. Why? He did one thing, just one action. He made one phone call, and everybody forgot his past, and they hailed him. Our President Buhari, I don't know what his family people are telling him. I don't know if he has honest friends and what they are telling him. To let him know that the three agenda he came up with, fighting corruption, security, the economy, I don't know any of those three that they can sincerely score him 50% on. Has he tried? Has he not tried? It's not about what you try. It's about the result that we get. The one action that he can take, and Nigerians will love him no end, is just one simple thing. Give us free, fair, credible elections and on time. Don't give us the black sheep, at night concept where, you were looking for the sheep and then all of a sudden you say, oh, it has been tied here because it was dark, we didn't see it. We want early enough. Just give us January speech. Tell Nigerians, I'm signing this, but there's an amendment I'm sending because of the cost of these direct primaries, because it's either got to be direct or indirect or hybrid. It's one of the three. There's no fourth one. It's either direct or indirect or hybrid. You look at it, Mr. President, if it is direct, you are going to fund it. Forget about it. 500 billion, you look for it wherever it is. If it is indirect, you send an amendment to the National Assembly that you sign this as a January gift to Nigerians. Sign the bill, send for an amendment. Within 1 week, you can get it, so that Nigerians have enough time to come out and prepare for the elections, and not for them to feel last minute. When everybody has gone back and relaxed, it's like, oh, this is not going to make sense. Then how many seconds to election, you now sign it. Nobody wants that. Okay. I think that Mr. President should be selfish for once. Think of himself, think of his legacy, and sign it because he wants Nigerians to know that he gave us a process that brought free, fair, credible elections.
Let me ask you, gentlemen, as we wind down this conversation, on an element of inclusion. You have, as you are a lawyer, Mr. Izala, and people talk about young people, including young people in the process, in the electoral process. We cannot talk about this enough. Not too young to wrong bill or not, do you see this Electoral Act Amendment Bill as in any way, whether remotely or directly, addressing the issue of inclusion, especially of young people, Nigeria's most populous demographic?
It didn't directly do anything on whether young people are going. And remember that the young people coming in or not coming in may relatively be a constitutional issue, in that the ages for the position of governor, president, senate, and all those, they are already in the act, they are already in the constitution, So it will only lead to the amendment of the constitution. The Electoral Act will not be able to do that.
I'm talking about the inclusion in the entire process.
But the inclusion in the entire process, there are things that shouldn't be an issue of law. The young people are in the majority. So it's a question of allowing, and that is why if you have a good electoral system, electronic transmission, direct primaries, for instance, the young people can now take over the process. But when you allow a system where a few people decide who is going to take what, who is going to represent, who is going to do this, do you understand? Mm-hmm. The young people and women are in the majority in the system. So allow direct primaries, you have solved that problem. So you don't need that. And just like when we're talking about the bill and the managers are the same. If you get a very wonderful bill and you have somebody who will go and truncate the system, you have not done anything, or you have not done much.
You heard Mr. Nye talk about introducing technology.
Yes, introducing technology.
That will, in a way, bring in the young people.
But who will do that? We have seen how people install cameras. Do you understand? Somebody say, I've installed cameras, and there are no cameras. So when you don't bring credible people who are going to monitor it, that is why, don't throw that one away. If you say you want a system, who will bring the system? Go and check all the systems we have. Which one is working? Because you don't have credible people that are doing it. You must have people who have the strength of character. You must have people who can employ the nice technology service to do it. But when you bring in people who don't have the, they will sabotage it at the end.
Okay.
That is just the problem.
Okay.
So we have to really understand that both American system was built by people who have the strength of character, who have the integrity to build it.
Okay.
It's not just there. Technology doesn't build itself.
Okay.
And getting the better technology is not just anything you get anyhow.
Well, Mr. Yetok, please speak to the youth element of this conversation. Do you see this bill, this proposition, answering the inclusion question as far as young people are concerned, whether remotely or directly?
I see it very, very directly, not even remotely. There are 18 political parties. Some don't even field anybody. You cannot hope to win an election if you have not made yourself popular. If you are popular, then you don't want to be disenfranchised because the money bags will hijack the indirect primaries. So what the young people want is, number one, allow direct transmission of results from the polling unit so that they don't need to go to APC or PDP. They can go to a small party, and because in their ward, they are loved by the people. And the moment you allow the will of the people to be expressed, they will become councillors. In their local government, they have been the youth leader of all organizations, and they are loved. But they will not be given tickets by any of the big parties. So allow direct transmission of results from the polling unit, and they will go to any of the other parties, pick the ticket, and they will floor the big people because the results count. So the young people are like, one thing we're asking of you right now is give us direct transmission of results from the polling unit. The second thing is that the young people will bring people, vote for people that they believe love them, care about them. There are a lot of old people that care about the young people. I'm not called National Youth Headmaster for nothing. I did not bring Young Democratic Party to the young people for nothing. Well, I was not part of the young, not too young to be a run bill in the national for nothing, or the Akwa Ibom Youth Development Bill for nothing. They are not for my children. They are not for me. They are for the young people. I'm not the only person. There are a lot of old people that care about the young people. Yeah. So allow direct transmission of results from the polling units, and the young people will decide who they want to support. And not when they have finished seeking at the polling unit, you now go to the collation center and now go and manipulate figures, and their voice becomes
over and over
of
again,
no consequence.
Mr. Yetok, and we cannot thank you enough for your comments this morning. Ezekiel Yetok is founder, Nigeria First. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate your participation today, as well as Chukuma Izala, who is a legal practitioner. Thank you so much for coming and for your thoughts.
Thank you.
So, Sunrise continues right after now with another issue. It's about giving. What does that mean? We'll be back.